There's no switching off in the Vuelta España. Stage 9 proved that today with crosswinds, echelons, rain, and a summit finish on site in the southeast of Spain, just near Murcia and at the base of the Alto Caravaca de Cruz, where Lennard Kämna from Bora-Hansgrohe won the stage. Primoz Roglic, Jumbo-Visma, gained time on his GC rivals, including Remco Evenepoel, and Primoz's teammate Sepp Kuss, the American, retains the red leader's jersey in what was a controversial stage, and we'll get to that later. But let's unpack the day because it was a banger of a stage, 183 kilometers. When we were at the start today, there were winds. You knew something was going to be brewing, and in fact, as soon as they got rolling, it did start. It wasn't live on TV yet, but we were able to dissect a little bit of what happened. There was a crash with Louis Vervaeke, Soudal Quick-Step rider, teammate of Remco Evenepoel. In that same time, Jumbo-Visma was putting the pressure on, the lemon squeezer on their teammates. They were forming echelons in the crosswinds. Riders fanned out across the roads. The three top guns from Jumbo-Visma were in there, including their teammates. So we had Kuss, we had Roglic, we had Vingegaard, but we also had Wilco Kelderman, Dylan van Baarle, and Jan Tratnik. So a strong group of 6 riders from Jumbo-Visma. Remco Evenepoel, the Belgian champion, made the group with his teammate Matteo Cattaneo, as did 3 Bora-Hansgrohe riders with Vlasov as well in that move. It didn't last forever, but you could tell the signals were there. It was going to be a tense day of racing. Then we saw an escape go free. 8 riders were in there, and some of the strong men, it included Matteo Sobrero from Jayco Alula and Lennard Kämna, who was racing for Bora-Hansgrohe. We mentioned at the top of the show, already a stage winner in the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France, and he was going for the Grand Slam today to join an elite group of around 100 riders in the history of cycling that have won stages in all 3 Grand Tours, and there are around about 19 riders, and Lennard would make 20 at the end of the day. Currently active who have stage wins, Grand Slam stage winners in Grand Tours, and Lennard is going to do that today. We were watching that group closely, and we got the feeling it was going to stick because they were having 8.5 minutes at some point. But back behind, the speeds were getting high again, and we're 80 kilometers out, and it was still a long way to go for speeds to be ramping up. But importantly, we saw this east wind. They had a tailwind, and then they turned right, and they had a strong side wind coming from the right. And Jumbo-Visma, they were out putting the hammer down again, forming echelons. This time, all the top guys were in there, all the big GC guys in there. Remco was attentive. Jumbo had their top guys in there, Kuss, Roglic, Vingegaard, and everybody, it seemed, was in there. We started going down the group of GC riders that were and weren't in there, and only we could deduce that Lenny Martinez, the former red jersey wearer and of Team Groupama FDJ, didn't make the move. Walt Poels didn't make the move, as did the unpronounceable, and I'll try it, here we go, as did the unpronounceable Kyan Utebrooks from Bora-Hansgrohe, the young Belgian rider. Those were the only guys that didn't make it in that group, but the riders were putting the hammer down nonetheless, trying to just shred up the field. And it was spectacular racing because even Remco Evenepoel was up there doing pulls in the echelons. And when they're fanned out like that, the teams at the front, when we saw Jumbo-Visma at front, they'll fan it out, so only their riders can be protected in that angled echelon, and the rest are in the gutter, getting the worst of the crosswinds and getting worn out. But at some point, after 25 kilometers of this nonsense racing, it was really enjoyable to watch. They all looked at each other. We could see Remco talking to his teammates saying, guys, why are we continuing doing this? He was talking to the Jumbo-Visma, his rival team, to say, guys, why are we doing this? And they all set up. They said enough. It lasted from 80 kilometers for about 25 kilometers. 52 kilometers to go, I think, and they set up, and the other groups that were behind, they came together, including Lenny Martinez, and that was that until we got to the final summit finish. Now keep in mind, we were keeping an eye on the race, and then the radio transmissions came through, and you're wondering, why am I here, not at the top of the climb? And I tried to drive up there, but the conditions were miserable. They had rain, and there wasn't enough parking for the cars. There was mud all over the roads. It was chaos. Cars couldn't find parking, and it was horrible conditions at the top. And in fact, the organizers were taking note because cars were blocking the roads. The roads were slick and muddy in some spots, and probably due to the disasters we have had in the opening stages of this Vuelta España and the heat they were facing from Remco Evenepoel and some of the other top riders, they decided to shorten the stage by 2 kilometers, 2 kilometers and about 50 meters. It was at the top of that peak before they had a slight descent to the top of the climb at 1,089 meters. Well, today we didn't reach there. What they did, they neutralized the GC with 2 kilometers out. They said the guys who wanted to race for the stage win that were in the escape, they could do so, but the GC time would be taking at 2 kilometers out. A bit of a just nonsense finish, if you ask me, because why was it safe enough for the stage leaders, the escapees, to go for the stage win, racing over those roads, and not for the GC riders? Well, we'll have to unpack that in the coming days of this Vuelta a España, but nonetheless, that's the way it was. It was called at the last minute. It seemed to get disseminated throughout the peloton, so the riders knew they were racing for that 2K mark. Up ahead in the escape group, they were going for the stage win. The strongest in that bunch was the Jayco rider, Mateo Sobrero. When they hit that pitch over there right behind me, leading up to the top, Sobrero and Kämna were the guys that were hitting out, and Kämna eventually punched for the stage win, and Sobrero was trying to do his time trial skills, former Italian time trial champion, to hunt down Lennard Kämna for the stage win, but it wasn't to be. Lennard Kämna, congratulations, chapeau, adding his name to a select list of winners in all 3 Grand Tours. Grand Slam stage winner Lennard Kämna, Bora-Hansgrohe back behind. GC battle of Bruin, getting closer and closer to that 2K mark where things were going to go down. And there we could see Jumbo-Visma using his strength in numbers. We had Remco Evenepoel, he was getting reduced, no longer had a teammate. I think Matteo Catania was the last rider to be with him on that climb today. Then he was on his own. Sepp Kuss seemed to be in the hurt locker at some point in the red jersey, but he was hanging strong. Primoz Roglic attacked at that point, was attacking about maybe 2.5 kilometers out, which was 500 meters before that 2K mark. He gapped, he distanced Remco Evenepoel. Enric Mas was there with Remco Evenepoel. And further back, Jonas Vingegaard, his teammate, Primoz Roglic's teammate, was a little bit on the ropes as well. And in the calculations there, 2 kilometers to go, Primoz Roglic gained 2 seconds around about on Remco Evenepoel in our GC battle. And back behind, well, Vingegaard lost a little bit of time and the guys were scattered down the road. So we had a bit of a GC battle, but not as much as we would have had they went on 2 kilometers all the way up to the top. And it was a bit of just a bad look for the organizers and for cycling in general to have these guys go slow over the final 2 kilometers up to the finish line. But regardless, the boys said it was safe to do it that way. I spoke to Primoz Roglic over there at the bus when he rolled in. We're down here at this school that they set up where the riders are rolling in because they're showering and they're heading to the Murcia airport where they're getting on a flight flying up to the northern part, central part of Spain, where the race resumes on Tuesday with the time trial. All the staff, us included, everyone else are driving the 4.5, 5-hour drive to get up there. The riders are showering. We got Remco Evenepoel when he came out of the showers and we spoke to him about the stage. He said it was a good idea. Also, Remco, don't make excuses, but I don't think he was. This is what he said. It was so steep and so slick in some points. His wheels were slipping, so he wasn't able to accelerate out of the saddle and not able to follow Primoz Roglic. He did say it was a good idea to neutralize the final 2 kilometers. I'm surprised Primoz Roglic said that because had things stayed that way, Primoz potentially could have gained more time on his rival Remco Evenepoel. But nevertheless, that's what they said. We had a banger of a stage out there, a good fight, a good day of racing with crosswinds all throughout the 9th stage of the Vuelta a España. Rest day tomorrow, the first so far, but it's been a hard-fought battle to get to this point, and today underlined that. It was survival of the fittest, Lennard Kämna taking the stage, and Primoz Roglic, precious GC time in stage 9 of the Vuelta a España.